All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the first Glass Reflections of 2021. Thank you so much for being here. And before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that while 2020 might be over, stress and hard times certainly have not gone away. And times continue to be challenging all over the world. And we hope that this is but one opportunity where we can exchange ideas, create resources, and inspire the Glass community at large. So my name is Jenna. I'm the Operations and Programs Manager at GAS. I'm coming to you live from my own apartment here in Seattle, Washington, and I'm thrilled to be continuing these conversations or hosting these monthly conversations geared towards cultivating sustainable careers, and in particular, sustaining artistic careers. Every first Thursday, I interview Glass artists, businesses, educators, and others in the Glass community about how they explore glass as a vehicle for self-care, whether that's creating and or viewing glass works. We'll also shed light on the resiliency of glass artists and entrepreneurs around the world. So today we're joined by artist and instructor Abegael Uffelman, and Abby earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts with a minor in art history from the Tyler School of Art, Temple University in 2019. She has exhibited in Italy and across the United States, including Florida, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Abby recently completed her second studio assistantship at the Chrysler Museum of Art, the Perry Glass Studio, after completing a visiting artist residency at New Street Glass at Worcester Center for Craft. Even more recent than all of those great things, Abby has accepted a full-time position. So welcome, Abby, and congrats. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so can you tell us maybe more about this new job and a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So the new job is in at FOSI, Minnesota Center for Glass Arts, and I'll be doing a lot of kiln working, kiln classes, as well as, generally assisting, helping maintain the studio. And I believe recently we talked about helping with online exhibitions and, COVID friendly, things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats. What's one of the most exciting things or you're most excited about with this new position?
I guess definitely having a full-time position in glass is very exciting. Also, just moving to a new city. I did a few moves, one to Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia, then to Norfolk, Virginia, originally being from Maryland. And so I've never lived over in the Midwest area, so I'm excited to move to a new city and kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, that's very exciting and during a pandemic nonetheless. So all the congrats on this new and exciting opportunity. Is there anything else you would like to maybe share about your background or where you come from?
So I grew up in Olney, Maryland, which is a suburb of like DC, Baltimore area.
Okay.
And I guess like something that I'll share because it has to do a lot with the work I do is I was adopted from birth, and I was originally born in South Korea, but I pretty much know hardly anything about Korea. So I make a lot of work about that, and then I found glass in college, and then yeah.
That's actually a perfect segue because I wanted to step back a little bit, and in regards to art, how did you become interested in glass as a medium? Because it is such a particular and unique medium in the field.
Yeah, I started out actually as a drawing painting major, and then I decided I was like, Tyler School of Art, they have an amazing glass program. I might as well take advantage and try a class while I'm there. And then little did I know I would become hooked and spend the rest of my life in the glass studio. So that's pretty much how it's the material itself is just very inviting and kind of grabs you. And our program, like the faculty there, have just been absolutely amazing, and I love everyone there. So it's a great community as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I myself, while not a glass artist, I'm really drawn to the glass community because it really is such a strong community, whether you're in the States or you're abroad or through GAS, where you can connect with people all over the world. So speaking of that, could you maybe speak to how you yourself are connected to GAS?
Yeah, so I became a member through school with the, I believe, like the student membership. Our program at Tyler actually raised money through our Glass Guild, and I was one of the co-presidents for my senior year of the Glass Guild. And every year we would raise money so that we could be funded to go to the GAS conference. And also, especially with our connections with Jess Julius being our, faculty, it definitely helps, like, get the ends of, understanding why, one, how important it is to go, and then just how amazing that opportunity to go is.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I can only say the highest of things for Jess, who is now our acting GAS president of the board. So yay for her as well. Also, speaking of GAS, I know in 2019 you actually won third place for our student exhibition, which is also an amazing achievement. For the Glass Art Society, our international student exhibition, which was Explorations in Glass. Could you maybe describe the piece that you had submitted and won third place?
Yeah, so going back to where I was talking about being adopted from birth, I created a body of work, and one of those pieces was I would pat the verre, so like make a mold, plaster silicone mold, and then use glass paste and fuse it, and then I would do an acetone transfer of like Xerox copies of my official adoption records, and then would do an acetone transfer onto the glass directly, so it had like some of the computer ink onto the glass, and then pretty much all of the pieces that showed ink were things that I had never known until reading through those documents, which I had only read for the first time a few months before I made that piece. So it was kind of like an enlightening piece for myself, just for my, growth as a person, but then making work about it to kind of like talk about my story.
Mm-hmm. And where is that piece now? Do you have it in your home with you, or?
Yeah, I do. It's all like packed up.
That's awesome.
But it has moved a few different places since the GAS conference.
Oh, fantastic. So I also want to talk about your art practice in general. So on your website, I wanted to talk about your artistic statement, where you talk about analyzing concepts of social interaction, politics, identity, personal trauma, and memory through creating physical objects and installations that others can relate to. So I know we just talked about one piece in particular, but can you maybe expand on one or two of these concepts that you explore?
Yeah, so a lot of I'm very drawn to human relations and how people relate to each other, as well as, it's very important to me to talk about, society and, identity, political issues, kind of a broad, um, different topics. But I mean, part of my growing up was I was raised as a Unitarian Universalist, and part of that religion is like spiritual growth, but also just social justice oriented, and then very much about like figuring out who you are and your way in the world. And I think about that a lot when I make work. I feel like that helped that in my upbringing caused me to create pieces about, what I see every day, especially, what's going around in politically now, especially, in not only like this week, but in the past. And it's a very, for me, something about that draws me to identity work is, for the longest time I didn't know how to tackle my own identity a lot through, like, middle school, high school. I was starting to deal with different thoughts about that, especially being in a mixed race family. um, but art has helped me actually like figure out my like how I feel about things, and helps me like work through my own issues uh, with those kinds of things. So, and then I would say like personal trauma is like mainly I lost a few people through college, and it's something that like impacts you a lot when you lose someone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think art has such an amazing ability to help people either reflect or process what might be going on in their own lives, or then interpret what's going on in the world, especially with politics and, world and cultural affairs like we have going right now. So speaking of the kind of human interaction when it comes to artwork, and your artwork in particular, have you noticed a different type of reaction to your physical objects versus maybe your installations or interactive pieces?
in some ways, I I think it's interesting to have somebody actually like physically interact with a piece, because it's one very intriguing to be able to like touch and move a piece of art, but then to like dive even deeper into the meaning of the piece. And some of my interactive works are part of like a body of work, where there's different things of videos and auditory, headphone pieces. And then I love working with optical illusions, so pieces involving those. And it's just a way to kind of, I like to you know make work that involves all of the senses, kind of, just because I just feel like it's, I don't know, there's something different about each piece. And I really use whatever concept I'm working towards to drive what medium to use, and which way to present it.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to those interactive pieces. And I remember a couple days ago, I was on your website and looking at the one where you have that magnifying glass, and just thinking of, oh, how fun would it be to be in an art space and be able to actually touch and interact with art in that way. And I think a lot of art spaces are kind of moving in that direction. And so I'm curious and excited to see where we go, especially in the next year or two.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then, kind of speaking to you as an artist, and especially with everything going on around the COVID-19 pandemic, how have you integrated self-care into your practice, or how do you take care of yourself?
So I think the way, I kind of want to break it down into a couple segments, if that makes any sense, because a lot of COVID related pandemic issues was the quarantine, which lasted a while. And then it's not, that, we're all going out and having fun, but there's definitely, like, I work at a restaurant, like part-time hours, while I do, my work at home, and just as a way to support myself for now. And um, there's a very big mentality difference between the strict quarantine where nothing was open, and then having to go to work through all this. And the quarantine it was a very interesting time, because I've never had time like that before. I worked pretty much 7 days a week except for major holidays, for a long time. And then having so much free time was very strange. It was, but it's also one of those things where we had a lot of time, but then not a lot of like no access to a studio. So one of my, it almost makes me even more excited to try to find ways to make work even when you don't have like the resources. That's something I actually enjoy trying to figure out. So I did a lot of like wire weaving and different like cold processes. I love working, you know, just with glass and hextol and cutting and gluing pieces together. So I worked a lot on that, but it's just, as for the self-care part, it's definitely hard to like be focused even though you have all this time to be focused, because, you know, one day you're just like, oh, I can just put it off to the next day and the next day, and you kind of fall into a hole. So a lot of the time I would, you know, hang out with my roommate or just try to, like, I do a lot of cooking as well as a way to help me kind of not get too caught up in my thoughts and just kind of make something that might not be, you know, I put a lot of thought into my work, but then with cooking I can just kind of make food or bake. I like baking a lot too, so I did a lot of that.
Oh, fun.
So,
I always wish I could bake. I'm not good in kitchen in any way, whether it's cooking or baking. So I always admire people that enjoy it and then are really good at it. So what do you like to bake, out of curiosity?
Pretty much anything. I made like a lot of cookies, cupcakes, but like I love making like pies too. I don't know.
That's so funny you say that. Actually, the gas communications and marketing manager, her name's Lauren. I think she might actually be on here. She is also a pie maker, and it's beautiful what you can do with pie and glass, all artistic in my point of view.
For sure.
Awesome. Okay, I went off on a little bit of a tangent. Circling back to your artistic practice, I was really intrigued with several of your pieces that you have currently on your website, but in particular, I would love to talk about one of them. It was a piece you made in 2019 called Every Day. And this piece, for those who might not have seen it yet, it's an interactive and printed text piece. So can you maybe explain visually, for those who haven't seen it, what this piece looks like?
Sure. So it's a board, probably I think it was like 24 by 24, so it's a square board that was set on a pedestal, and the whole board is covered with text that talks about different microaggressions I faced as, you know, an Asian American, especially with white parents, and kind of like how my family is impacted by like different people in society saying different things. And it's one of those, so when you look at it, the text is, I think it was a 2-point or 4-point text size, so it's literally like really tiny. And then I used glass marbles and adhered them all together to make a lens, which it does magnify the words, but it also distorts them further, because when you put, like, I have tons of marbles everywhere, but if you look, like, everything becomes distorted and you see the multiple images at once.
It's really beautiful. I highly recommend everyone go and look at it. And in addition, so you list next to this piece on your website an accompanying statement, which I just wanted to also give some visibility to. So it says, the frustration and ambiguity in this exercise connects to the racial microaggressions that are written about and faced by the artist and her family. And then kind of you spoke a little bit about this, and then there was a longer text that was next to that or below it as well. So I'm curious to know, have you noticed how people interact with this text? And if so, what have some of those reactions been?
So the biggest, when I showed it for the first time, it was at my solo exhibition, and it was an interesting time because it being surrounded by all the other work, and having people kind of walk towards this piece and, you know, move the lens around and read. especially because at that show I had a lot of my family members come to it, so that was one of the pieces we talked about a lot, and I just wanted to kind of you know, shine light on not just, you know, the rest of the work was very much about my identity and how I deal with things, but also how things are brought onto myself, and then how the, you know, the people who are closest to me in the world are impacted as well. So seeing their reactions to the piece was a very powerful thing for me, because, you know, they're the ones I'm writing about, and kind of, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And have you noticed with everything switching to virtual during this past year, have you been getting any kind of digital or virtual engagement with your pieces?
Um, not not in the same way. Because for me, a lot of it is just, you know, you post something on social media and, you know, it gets liked, but there's not, it's not, um, you, the thing about social media and putting things up on an online exhibition is you're basically telling people how to see the work instead of letting people see it for themselves and interact with it in their own, like, genuine way. It's very tailored, and, you know, it's with the whole process of putting like a completely white background, blacking out everything else that's not having to do with the piece, whereas, you know, in person people are touching it or moving it, or they're, you know, walking around and like noticing little details that maybe you missed in your, you know, the one photograph or video that you know, you put online. So I think I think doing online and social media things through COVID has been a great way to kind of, you know, keep things alive and keep going. And but at the same time, it's almost like it's not as genuine as being in person, if that makes any sense.
Interesting. So then, shifting gears, I did also want to take a few minutes to talk about your artist residencies and your studio assistantships, which happened before everything really shut down, which I'm really glad about. What exactly was your process for finding and applying for these opportunities?
So for Chrysler specifically, I was actually recommended by a couple professors at Tyler, one being Amber Cowan, who had just come to Chrysler to do, I believe, a visiting artist residency. And it was amazing for me to come here and kind of help the visiting artists. And I was like, oh, this is what she was doing. And then her and another faculty member, Carmichael Jones, told me about it. And so that's how I found out about Chrysler. And then as for the Worcester residency, I was reached out to for winning the third place in the gas exhibition. So that was a really wonderful experience. Oh, and as for the recent job offer in Minnesota, I actually scoured like GAS's webpage, so I always look at the job openings, and that's actually how I found that one. So,
yay! Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Awesome. And then, so I wanted to bring all of this up because there are many student members that we have at GAS that are always looking for new opportunities. So what advice might you give to some students or maybe emerging artists to find these?
I am always just looking constantly, even during this time of the pandemic when things got shut down. I constantly look all the time on, you know, GAS's webpage to see if there's any opportunities listed there. Particularly like Tyler School of Art had their own thing called The What, and it was would list all these opportunities, so I'd always look at that when I was a student. And then I was forwarded a list of just like a list someone um, created of hundreds of residencies and opportunities that maybe they don't fit right now, but I make several Google documents and save the ones that I think like I would be interested in the future, so that I have it kind of bookmarked. And I get a little crazy about it, but it really helps me when I'm kind of down on what I'm doing currently. Like when I was applying for the job in Minnesota, I was, I had finished my second studio assistantship. Things were kind of shut down still, and some of the stuff I had applied for got canceled. And I was just kind of frustrated with my current state of, I was actually working at a tattoo parlor, and I was just getting like overwhelmed with hours of working two different jobs and stretching myself a little too thin. And then I was like, I need a fresh start on something new. So, I just, even if I don't use it in the moment, just saving different resources for later, for when you are in that moment where you kind of realize you need a fresh start.
That's a great idea. I've become such a cheerleader for Google Docs. I use them for everything. I probably have 10 tabs open on my computer right now.
Oh yeah, I have probably, I think, 15 right now.
Oh, awesome. So I also wanted to give the opportunity to people who are joining us, if anyone in the audience might have a question for Abby, whether it's about her practice or where she's currently at. I do actually see one question in here, which is, do you blend your art practice with your cooking and baking?
I have thought about it, and I actually did one piece in school. I remember it was, I think it was one of the first pieces of the semester. Actually, Jess Julius was my instructor for that, and we were just told to make, I can't remember the exact prompt, but I remember making a sheet cake, because that's when the sheet cake video, I think with Tina Fey, came out, and people were making all these, jokes about sheet caking. And then I was like, okay, it's funny, but it had, in the inside of the cake, I put like a list of resources of like how to actually create like political, involvement in like places you could donate, so that it wasn't just like this, one-off thing that is became more of a joke than anything else. But I think you probably have to see her video to, it was part of the whole thing. So but I mean, I'm definitely thought about it in other projects.
Awesome. So seeing another question here, when you win awards or finish amazing residencies, how do you push yourself to be even better or not let the pressure of success derail you? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm very thankful and humbled by the opportunities that I have been given, and it's one of those things where I'm very excited and then nervous about it in the moment, like kind of like doing this interview now in a way. This is an amazing opportunity, and I don't know, I kind of take it for what it is, complete what I need to complete, and then I just kind of think about what I'm doing next and what else I need to, like I'm very much a person who always thinks of the next thing, and I want to keep progressing in my work, and so I think like my body of work, the last I've been using to apply with recently about identity, is very different than some of the work I'm making right now, and they fit in different ways. So it's like I'm very happy with that chapter of my work in my life, and now I know it's time to move on to the next work.
That's great. You kind of have that feeling of when to move to the next thing. So what are you currently exploring, or what does your projects or works look like right now?
Right now, I'm kind of in, it's a little bit of a weird time because I am in the middle of moving, or like preparing for a move. But a lot of the work I've been focusing now have been more like interpersonal relationships, and dealing more with kind of the grief aspects I went through in school. My last piece being a piece where kind of like the lens, but I made a dome out of those marbles and then put I miss you. So in every single marble it said I miss you all over it. And I'm kind of thinking about all those experiences, and I've been doing a lot of research into lying and what it means to like tell a lie. So that's been kind of my focus recently. And
interesting.
Yeah, so
awesome. And I'm curious to hear, so with all of these kind of concepts and things that you're ruminating over, is there a certain type of technique that you're leaning towards with making?
Yeah, as of right now, I love making marbles and flame working marbles. It's something that it's one of those things where I can kind of just do something with my hands, and but then later when I create my pieces, it takes a little bit more thought, and there's so many different things you can do with them, and I love them because they're just like these little tiny glass balls, and I love making different structures with them. So right now I'm working on a few different projects, one being a screen made out of marbles to go over a video piece. And then I was just talking to my friend Matt Jacob, who works at Chrysler, about a neon collab with the marbles. So there's hopefully some really cool things coming.
Yeah. Oh, how fun. Okay, so we have a couple other questions in the chat, but I'm going to look at one of them. So who are your favorite emerging or student glass artists we should be watching? Oh, that's a great question also.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Oh yeah, let me repeat. So who are your favorite emerging or student glass artists that we should be watching?
Funny enough, the first one that came to mind wasn't a glass artist, but I want to talk about her anyway. Her name is Jennifer Ling Dachuk. She is a ceramic artist, but she makes work about identity and being mixed race from Chinese American culture. So her work is absolutely amazing, and I'm very obsessed with it.
Have to take a look.
And as for glass artists, oh gosh, there's so many.
Right.
I know, it's just like, geez. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but let's see. Sorry, I'm just gonna hold on. I have a lot of things bookmarked.
Visual reminders. I love those.
Yeah, I love David Willis's work. His work is amazing, and I don't know why I'm blanking on names. I'm like, this is one of those things about, I would say about social media, which is the hardest, is like, I will see so many people with work that I absolutely love, and then like just forget like they're not social media persona. Davini Banks is I'm not sure if I said his name right, but he's someone who I've been looking a lot of his work. Let's see. So many.
That's great. I will definitely take a look at both of those, and we'll continue the conversation. offline some other time. All right, so just briefly checking the clock. We have come to our time, and I want to thank you so much, Abby, for joining us and sharing some of your insights and your stories. This program will be uploaded to the GAS platform soon, and it'll include Abby's information such as website, email if you want to continue talking and reach out. Thank you all in the audience for joining us. It was a pleasure to get your questions and see some engagement from all of you. And we look forward to seeing you all next month. If anyone has any questions about this program in particular or about participating and being our next guest, please feel free to email me at jenna@glassart.org. And thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Abby. Thank you.
Thanks.